Welcome to Just the Who of Us, hosted by Reah. This is a space for honest, thoughtful conversations around mental health, life journeys, holistic wellnesses, and the experiences that shape who we are. Take a breath, settle in, and join Reah and today's guests as we explore the stories that connect us.
Good conversations very often run over and we don't want them to end.
I
So
know. I
good for
know.
you with the last one, and let's have a good one together today.
I agree. First of all, I want to say that I am very, very honored to have you on and that you picked me to talk to because I've done my homework and you are a very, very decorated and successful man. And
Thank you.
I did some research and if you just search your name alone, all these accomplishments come up. And I was like, what a huge honor, honestly.
Well, I give you a big hug for feeling that way and responding to me in my work that way. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Um,
And we'll see how wide-ranging our discussion is and how much we can't possibly include all of that work. We'll be focused as we need to, but I really do appreciate what you're saying. And what should I say? In complicated, magical ways, all of my work really is integrated into one large, lifelong spiritual quest. So, um,
yeah,
and I've always been out of the box, non-conventional, so that I can follow uh, the synchronicities and the sacred messages as they arrive and don't get crushed by ordinary everyday life.
I love that, honestly. I, you know, I turned 40 last year, so I just turned 41 on Tuesday, and we spend a large portion of our younger life doing things one way, because that's what we heard, that's what we were taught, so on and so forth. And one thing that I've really enjoyed about turning 40 and being 40 is that I feel like I'm really learning so much about myself and the world in ways that even in my 20s and 30s didn't exist, you
Mhm.
know?
Yes.
Um, I love it. I'm happy,
Well, then, very happy birthday to you.
Thanks.
And you're discovering one of the secrets of aging, that we can and do continue to grow and expand and learn and change. And we can even have a good time. We can even be better than the challenges we had in our earlier life. But regarding 40, it's really important. It's a life-changing moment because Carl Jung even said 40 is one of the most important birthdays because it's the tipping point from the future to the past. At 40, just what you're saying, suddenly we're looking at the whole journey. We're not just planning the future and trying to achieve and get somewhere. We're mature enough
Yeah.
where we've learned a lot about life. And now
Mhm.
we're thinking more deeply. We're including the past, including the wisdom that maybe we didn't have earlier. So, congratulations. It's a big turning point, and I wish you the best. And I'll also share that 2 weeks ago I turned 75. So likewise, big turning point. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, 3/4 of a century? And you actually helped today because beginning our conversation with recognizing and honoring my work helps me accept
Mhm.
being 75 and that I have been doing my work.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad I could help.
It's really important. It's really,
Yeah. Yeah, but I love everything you just said. I'm writing a memoir currently around turning 40. And I had this my deadline for myself was my 41st birthday. Because the way that I initially structured the book was kind of chronological. And since then, I only started writing it about a year ago. And since then, I've completely scrapped because I started writing it when I was about 39, so 2 years ago, and coming into 40. And my plan after I turned 40, everything, I'm like, I don't. like anything about this anymore. It's so funny.
That's very interesting. So at 39, I was envisioning my expectations of
Hmm.
40 and writing
Yeah.
from that place. Then when I crossed the threshold, oh no, it's really, really different than I imagined.
Yeah.
Well, you were preparing for your vision quest with the first manuscript, and then
Mm.
you get to the top of the mountain, which is your 40th birthday, and say, "Oh, everything's different now. I see differently,
Yes.
I experience differently, and it's okay." That was preparation for getting here.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, because my initial focus was kind of recapping up to 35, summarizing 35 and then sliding into 40 and talking about that from there on. And I realized, well, first of all, I didn't know anything at
Yeah.
35. So talking about 35 to 40, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened loss wise. Um, but I've reconstructed that and I'm like, you know what? I don't need this in here. It doesn't fit anymore. Um, which is one of the things that I've enjoyed so far. It's kind of like this permission to say, you know what, this hasn't worked for me so far. I'm taking all the information I've learned over the years and I'm gonna apply this to what am I gonna do with my future? What am I gonna do now that I have all that and I've analyzed it a little bit and you know,
Hmm.
now what am I gonna do here on? And that's probably gonna look completely different
Uh,
than what I've done before.
not the only thing word I would edit is probably.
Mm.
Will look very different than what you've been before. So here's a little story about
Mhm.
this process. Uh, when I was your age, oh boy, I get to use that phrase in my elderhood. Seriously, when I was your age, I was the editor of a psychotherapy journal. It was called Voices, the Art and Science of Psychotherapy. When I became editor, I inherited an honorary uh, an honorary senior editor who had been with the journal for years, maybe decades.
Hmm.
His name was Martin Grotjan. He was actually the last living student and friend of Freud's. So,
Wow.
wow, oh yes, what an honor to know him. I
Yeah.
was I was in your life stage, 30s, 40s, and he was in his 90s at the time.
Mhm.
He was not like Freud, who was stern and distant and you couldn't connect. Martin was a joyous, loving person. He was in his 90s. He lived in a tiny apartment in California. In his 90s, he was so infirm that he couldn't go out. He could just shuffle between his rooms.
Hmm.
But he was, as I said, he was an incredibly joyous person. So I asked him, wow, you can hardly go anywhere or do anything, but you're about the happiest person I've ever known. Would you
Hmm.
share your secrets?
Yeah, really.
Okay. So he shared two things. One is live long enough so you don't owe anybody anything.
Mm.
I'm in my 90s. I'm completely debt free. My great grandchildren have been through college. I own my little house. Uh, so every day is really mine. Even though I can
Yeah.
hardly walk, I've never been so free in my life.
Yeah.
So live
Yeah.
long enough so you owe nobody anything and your days are yours. That's one. Second was, and he wrote several books and left them behind. And he said to me, Ed, do you by any chance remember the title of my last book? Uh, yeah, it was called My Favorite Patient. Yeah, well, did you read that one, Ed? No, I'm sorry, I haven't gotten to that one yet, Martin. So tell me about it. Who was your favorite patient in your long career in psychoanalysis? And he said, no, Ed, you guess who was my favorite patient. Well, you know Freud, and you lived in Europe, and you came here, and you must have known a lot of really interesting people. I can't guess.
Right.
So please, who was your favorite patient? And he just smiled and said, "That's my memoir. That's my autobiography. I was my favorite patient."
I that's what I was thinking because it just made sense from what you were talking about. And
Yeah,
also, it's the least expected answer because you would think patient, like outside patient, but it makes sense. Yeah.
makes sense. So when you're writing about yourself now and through the life cycle, um, do the best you can to be your own favorite patient.
I love that. Wow.
It's
Hmm.
hard. It's hard. We're taught to pay attention to and tend to others first, and it's right to do that, but we really have to take care of ourselves first so
Yeah.
that we can tend others
hmm Very
and
much so.
be fascinated with our own journeys.
Yeah. You know, my husband is one of my biggest supporters.
Hmm.
And there's been times through weight gain and financial stress and all the random things that I look at myself. I have looked at myself in the past and I'm like, what does he see that like he sees this magnificent person and I
Mhm.
have all these negative feelings. If someone who is outside of you, who knows you and is around you through all the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, if they can look at you and say, what a magnificent person you are, they must be right, right? Because they see everything
Mhm.
and they still think you're perfect. And it's one of the most inspiring. And it doesn't mean that that takes away all my bad feelings, right? Because life, we as humans have emotions, but it's just something to kind of think about, like,
And even more than that, yeah. I have similar experiences. My wife is very supportive and encouraging. And when I'm down on myself, she says things like you did about, look at the work you did, look at the people you helped.
yeah.
So what's revealed to us is our own inner psychological conflicts about ourselves, not an
hmm
objective truth.
That's fair. Yes.
And others can indeed, oh, not others, trusted others who
Right.
really look deeply can often see us better than we can see ourselves. So we can
Mhm.
even relate this to the Greek tradition. Plato said, "For the soul to know herself, it is into the eyes of another that she must look."
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're in your own inner labyrinth, as we all are, and all of our issues and conflicts are always there, too damn noisy.
Right. Right. Right.
And
hmm
someone outside who is a really trusted mirror
hmm
can reflect the best for us and help us see our own beauty and our own gifts when we can't is really important.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Yes.
the mirroring experience with really trusted people, that's what we're
hmm
doing right now.
hmm
With healing of any kind is, and unfortunately, we're losing a lot of that in civilization now because there's less and less and less direct contact between people.
Yeah. I do agree. I do agree. However, it's one thing that I love about um, podcasting is the people that I get to connect with that I never would have met in my own city.
Hmm. Hmm.
The kind of ability to connect outside of myself, outside of my proximity. It makes for the best conversations because for a lot of us, we live, not a lot of us, but some of us, we live around a lot of people like us. And I guess most of us is accurate. We live around people like us, right? We want to live in certain areas where we have certain amenities or certain things. There are certain things we like about how people interact, and if we get to choose that. Um, and kind of being able to learn and grow and conversate outside of that is wonderful. It's my favorite thing about the internet. Social media, not so much. Connections, very much so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that also relates to the work I do because, as you know, I lead pilgrimages overseas to both Greece and to Vietnam, and getting out of our culture
Hmm.
and into cultures that are much more communal, much more connected,
Hmm.
much more welcoming and friendly and loving, and operate by different value systems with their own spiritual and religious and cultural traditions.
Right.
It's really challenging for people, but when we take them out of the familiar and immerse them in a better world, as these kinds of conversations can do,
Yep.
it cracks the whole world open and we're not alone anymore.
Right.
And it's really wonderful. So I love doing this, but leading journeys to Greece and Vietnam and being on the road with a dozen pilgrims for weeks is
Right.
more favorite than talking like this. But the point is that real, deep, connecting conversation about the things that matter the most is
Yeah,
what really feeds us.
very much so. Very much so. Yes. I think that would actually be a really good thing to talk about. Excuse me. Um, can you explain to us what exactly you mean by, so you are an international pilgrimage guide, correct?
Yes.
Explain that for us a little bit, for those of us who are not super familiar.
Sure, thank you.
Hmm.
We don't even hear the word pilgrimage very much anymore,
Hmm.
but pilgrimage, for our friends listening, pilgrimage is an ancient cultural and spiritual practice. It's been really practiced for tens of thousands of years. We even know that um, early Homo sapiens and the Neanderthals made pilgrimages. Pilgrimage is traveling from the familiar place on a long, arduous journey to a distant site that you associate or have experienced as a sacred place where
Mm.
important spiritual or mythological or historical things have happened there. I mean, when people think they're being tourists and oh gosh, in the old days, before our modern politics, when people went to Washington, D.C., and families felt, I've got to bring my children there once growing up. And we
Right.
went to the Lincoln Memorial and to go to the Vietnam Wall, places like that. That's going on pilgrimage, even though we don't call it that. We're
Hmm.
going to sites that are the most notable and sacred in our history, and we're exposing ourselves to the experiences that happen there and the lessons that are left behind. So that's
Mm.
pilgrimage in general. I'm and I'm expanding that. Uh, I I've led about 25 pilgrimages to Greece and 19 to Vietnam.
Wow.
Except during the pandemic, I've been doing this every year since 1995.
Wow.
And I find that pilgrimage, when it's done deeply, intentionally, with preparation before and choosing the cultures that we're going to immerse in and creating activities and programs while we're there to really immerse deeply in the culture and get to know the people, not just work with the
Right.
past,
Hmm.
is an extraordinarily powerful growth and healing tool. So, Scouts Honor. In the 19 journeys I've led to Vietnam, of course, I take veterans, I take their family members, I take war protesters who want to be with Vietnam because they were unified with Vietnam during the war.
Hmm.
And they want to be recognized and honored for that. And they're not here.
Right.
And I take spiritual pilgrims because Vietnam is a Buddhist culture and a very spiritual place.
Mm-hmm.
We know how very difficult it is to heal from post-traumatic stress disorder and moral injury, and people
Yeah.
suffer from it for 30, 40, 50 years, their whole lives. Scouts honor, as I said, going back to Vietnam and an intentional pilgrimage for healing. When we're 2 or 3 weeks in Vietnam, our veterans and their family members heal more in a couple of weeks back there than they've been able to heal in 40 or 50 years since the war.
Wow.
Because pilgrimage offers so much that we can't.
Yeah.
When, okay, I am a psychotherapist and a counselor, so I'm not putting it down. But when we keep everything in the therapy room, just between you and me, and we're not out in the world, and we don't know how people are responding, and we can talk to veterans about, I love you, I honor you, I accept you, you need to forgive yourself. Well, that's easy to
Mm.
say one-on-one in private. Does America forgive me? Do the Vietnamese forgive me? I
Right.
did terrible things. I have moral injury. It's
Yeah.
unforgivable.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you feel and how you're judging yourself. It's
Yeah.
related to what we said earlier about self-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go and see how the Vietnamese feel. They are so loving, welcoming, kind, and they know about our veterans suffering.
Yeah.
So one Viet Cong veteran said to our group, we know how much you suffer from the war. We don't. We don't have what you call PTSD here. We're
Mm-hmm.
really glad you came back here so we can help you heal because we don't want you suffering from the war.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
weren't our enemy. It's only the governments that did this.
Yeah.
So getting direct forgiveness and acceptance and honor and respect from the people you were fighting against, that washes away the moral injury in ways that nothing that we say or do here can correct. So
Yeah.
that's one example. So when I talk with other therapists about using pilgrimage as a healing tool, well, some of them say, what's pilgrimage? And that's not therapeutic. And so I say, okay, I'll put it in clinical terms for you. Don't call it pilgrimage, call it immersion therapy
Right.
and exposure therapy.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Right. Right.
But we're not doing it online with artificial programs. We're
Yeah.
going where it happened and with the people it happened.
Yeah.
So so
Mm.
so that's Vietnam and that's how it works. Regarding my Greek journeys, I've led 25 pilgrimages to Greece. People do go for profound healing, and we use
Mm-hmm.
the ancient Greek traditions for healing. Okay. Our psychological and psychiatric models evolved originally from ancient Greece. Even our words, psychotherapy, psychology, psychotherapy, psychiatry, are ancient Greek words, but we've changed the meanings radically. So when we go to Greece, I'm also teaching and we're experiencing the original meaning. Psychology, we are taught, means the study of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-uh.
Mm-hmm.
Psyche logos, it's Greek. For our friends listening who might not know, psyche means soul, not mind. And logos is a beautiful word. It's also ancient Greek. Um, the famous quote is from the Gospel of St. John. In the beginning was the Word.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning was the Logos, not
Mm-hmm.
the everyday word you and I are using right now, but the divine word that
Mm-hmm.
called creation into being. Logos is impossible to translate, but it means something like the order and meaning of the universe.
Right.
So, in the ancient Greek tradition, in the origins of what we call psychology and psychotherapy, they were doing soul healing.
Mm-hmm.
They were psyche logos. They were trying to restore the order and meaning of the soul, and
Mm.
therapeia meant to serve or to attend. So literally, a psychotherapist is not a mechanic trying to rearrange our mental functioning. Psychotherapy, a servant of the soul. Psychiatrist, psychiatros means soul doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yatros is soul. Okay, it does not mean medication dispenser, as most of them have become. And
Thank
a
you.
lot of them don't want to do that. They're frustrated. And there's a lot of anguish in the psychological fields because they're not allowed to practice in a spiritual and holistic way, the way many would prefer. But
Yeah,
we go to
yes.
Greece.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to Greece to practice soul healing in the ancient ways, and all kinds of wonderful things happen. We practice what the Greeks called dream incubation, which is like Native American vision questing. They went into the wilderness to receive a vision. In the Greek tradition, for 2,000 years, first they went into the wilderness and later they went into beautiful classical buildings just for this purpose, where they did what they called dream incubation, which was Carl Jung distinguished between what he called big dreams and little dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned that distinction from the Labrador Indians, actually. So little dreams are our everyday dreams that are about our psychology and our daily lives. Big dreams that we only have occasionally, rarely and occasionally, are really breakthrough dreams where we um, see divine figures, we feel the divine breaking through to us. They are meant to radically awaken and change and challenge and bring us healing.
Mm-hmm.
In Jungian analysis, over a long period of time, hour by hour for weeks and maybe years, the patient and analyst are working together to try to provoke big dreams, really life-changing dreams that reveal the conditions of our souls and really change our minds. Not just a
Mm-hmm.
different idea, but really
Right.
reorder our minds. Okay. We know of one of my books well, it's this this tradition is in all of my books about Greece. The practice of dream healing and soul medicine, and the new one, Passage to Poros. So I practice dream incubation when we're in Greece.
Okay. Mm.
And people really receive huge, shocking, life transforming dreams, often accompanied with intense emotion. So it releases a lot of catharsis for
Mm-hmm.
emotions that have been stored up. Um, the group is back to pilgrimage. We're all traveling together. We all share sacred intentions for growth and healing. We're all immersing in an ancient culture. We're accompanying and witnessing each other. You and I talked about the importance of good, deep, accurate, trustworthy witness. So
Yes.
we're witnessing each other as we go along. We're in cultures that are really familiar with these traditions and help and support us in doing their practices. And most importantly, it's a spiritual journey where we're working for breakthroughs from the divine energies and figures that the ancients honored as living forces in the cosmos, and we can access and experience them as well. So all of this happens on pilgrimage, and people come back really profoundly changed and often radically healed. So some veterans come back really with no more PTSD.
Wow.
Really, two of the veterans, at least two, who I can think of, who went back with me, who had severe PTSD and moral injury when we first went. When they came back, they were in love with Vietnam and the Vietnamese people. And since our journeys, they've been leading their own healing journeys to Vietnam.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we can get that comfortable, that
Right.
overcome the old wounds that they're my enemies and they're going to hate me for what I did.
Right.
No, they're human beings like us who are on their own spiritual journeys, and they have the conditions in their culture for healing from war that we don't have here.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we can learn that, experience it with them, and try to bring some of those lessons back here.
You know, I had a conversation earlier today where we kind of brought up people are often people often have judgments against people they've never spoken to, or expectations of judgments from people they've never spoken to. And it's interesting that this kind of comes up again because it is very often that we have these, like I said, expectations of perceptions from people that if we just had a conversation with, we
Mhm.
would feel completely different and kind of not only understand them better, but also understand ourselves a little bit better.
Yes.
And it makes complete sense as to how that would be life
Yeah.
changing for these people
So
who go over there.
those negative judgments that we carry on people we don't even know, there are often, maybe usually our projections, how we feel about
Absolutely.
ourselves that we anticipate others are going to feel. So
Yeah.
back to journeys to Vietnam. I did terrible things during the war to the Vietnamese people. I'm in anguish about it. I
Hmm.
have been my whole life. I'm sure the Vietnamese people feel that way also, and they hate me.
Right. Right.
No, let's go test that. I can't tell you, sometimes the plane rides over there are really difficult. They're crying, some of them. They're expecting to be arrested and thrown in prison as soon as we land. Uh, but
Oh,
within
wow.
the first few minutes, it discharges completely because the Vietnamese welcome him. Oh, they don't even say, "Were you here during the war?" They're so polite. Here, by any chance, were you here before 1975? What a sweet way to ask.
Yeah, because it takes away the assumption that they did something wrong. Were you here at this time
Right. Yeah.
and not were you here doing this thing? And it seems like a much softer welcome than an instant accusation. Yeah.
Exactly. And here's a story from Greece. It's about the same thing about discharging our expected negative projections.
Hmm.
Um, I sometimes lead warrior journeys to Greece, not always, but sometimes it's only veterans and warriors, and we're using the ancient Greek warrior tradition for our healing work. So this one was a warrior journey. And I was giving a lecture in Athens. It was a large audience, probably over 100 people, because the Greeks are really, really interested in how we're using their traditions for our growth and healing. So I had, I don't know, about 8 or 10 of our American veterans and a big audience of Greek people. Our vets sat in the front row. And when I started speaking, a couple of them interrupted and said, Ed, wait a minute, wait a minute. We're really uncomfortable. Do the Greeks know that who's here, that we're veterans? Well, yeah, they do. And they're all here for this material. But don't they hate us? What do they think? The world is frightened of the American military. And are there any veterans in this room who understand us? Let's find out if there are any other veterans and how they feel about you. So, will all American veterans and warriors please stand up? They do. Please turn around and face our Greek audience. Okay, they did. All right. Greeks, does anybody here understand what our warriors have been here? Would all the veterans present please stand up? Every single man in the room stood up because they have universal service.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so look, vets, you're talking to other veterans.
Yeah.
Now, Greek veterans, how do you feel about the American veterans? Oh, they clapped, they cried, they came forward and hugged them, and they said over and over again, "You were a good warrior, and you did what a warrior has to do. what you have to do in combat is never your fault.
Yeah.
It's your government and what you're ordered to do. But we honor and celebrate you as warriors. And we will be critical of America right now. They said it is always, always wrong for a country that sends people off to war to not welcome them home and give them everything they need for homecoming and healing. And your country has
Yeah.
done that to you. So you're we love and accept and affirm you here, and we will suggest to you that a really big wound is not what you did in combat, but your homecoming wound for how your country has treated you ever since. But here,
Yeah.
but here we
Yeah.
honor and love the warrior, and we understand how important it is for preserving our cultures and our civilization. So these are all examples of fearing the judgment of the other,
Mm-hmm.
stepping past that fear to encounter the other and risk finding out how they really feel, and then realizing all the judgment is self-judgment. It's
Yeah.
not coming
Yeah.
from
Mm-hmm.
outside. And in fact, like my wife and your husband do for us, the other can remind us of how good we are.
Yeah.
And the Vietnamese do
Yeah.
that also to an extreme degree. Please keep bringing your veterans here. This is a direct quote. Please keep bringing your veterans here so we can heal them with our love. Oh my goodness, is that a world vision?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What what made you start doing this?
Hmm.
If
Uh,
there was an isolated event, I imagine it was things over time, but
uh, yeah, it's different for Greece and for Vietnam.
yeah.
I'll try to, in a condensed, share each of the stories. Regarding Vietnam, many things, including my own what's called moral injury now. Uh, I turned 18 in 1969, the height of the war. Um,
Mm.
I didn't have to serve because the conditions of the time and the lottery system, and I got a high lottery number. I won't go over that whole history, but we hope some of our listeners know it. But I didn't have to serve. I was applying for a conscientious objector, but then I got a high lottery number and I didn't have to do anything. And that was crazy. It was crazy. I wanted to serve as a conscientious objector because I wanted to give service because everybody should give service to the country. Everybody. Back to the Greek tradition, they have universal service, and
Hmm.
unlike the $50,000 sign up bonuses people get and the high salaries, you know what they get for signing up in Greece? Nothing. You know what the salary they get from their government for serving? Almost nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Quote from the Greek warriors is, yeah, the government pays me enough while I'm in service to buy a cup of coffee a month.
Goodness.
I mean, we're proud of it because in Greece, serving in the military is social service. We're giving back to the country just the way our ancestors did.
Hmm.
They were never paid. In ancient times, they bought their own weapons. They supplied their own horses and uniforms and chariots if they could afford them. They brought their own food. They were giving to their country, returning for everything that they were given. And
Hmm.
military service is a rite of passage into adulthood, it's supposed to be, and uh, a thank you giving back to the country for what we have been given. And we don't do military service that way at all.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, so I
Hmm.
got to Vietnam from this because at the time I first went to Vietnam, my first trip was in 2000. I began working with the veterans in the 1970s, right after the end of the war. So I've been working with them for like 25 years, and I had so many war stories of my own. And I
Hmm.
did have some nightmares from the stories I heard,
Yeah.
and I thought, and we don't know how to heal their PTSD here. There's got to be ways
Right.
because otherwise the world would not have made it this far because
Right.
we've had so many wars forever. So I thought going back, and I needed to go to Vietnam. I wanted to meet the people who endured the war, who survived it, who actually defeated the American monster that invaded their country. And how did you do that? How did you endure? How much sacrifice did you make? So I really wanted to know them. And I also uh, had my own theory that encountering the other and sharing stories about why we were all there together would be could be radically healing. There's a proverb in the African tradition that says, "My enemy is someone whose story I have not yet heard."
Oh,
So let's go to Vietnam and tell each other stories.
yeah,
And when we get
yes.
there, our veterans are afraid to tell their stories at first. And the Vietnamese, including their Viet Cong and North Vietnamese Army veterans, especially, we're so glad you're here. We need and want to hear your story. Listen to ours and tell us yours.
Yeah.
And you're safe, and we love you. We really do. And we honor you as an honorable warrior who did what you had to for your country and you didn't know it was wrong. So
Right.
please tell us your story and leave it behind and go home clean.
Yeah.
So,
But I love that you included that. Tell us your story and then and leave it behind and go home clean,
yeah.
forgiven and moving forward. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I got started traveling to Vietnam. Um, So really, it was my own experience growing up in the war, not having to
Mm,
serve, serving our veterans all these decades as a therapist,
mm,
and my absolute devotion to look and search worldwide for that which can bring the greatest healing, because it has to be possible, or
right.
humanity wouldn't still be here. So that
Yeah.
was Vietnam. Greece is a different
Mhm.
story, really. Where should I begin? Okay. I fell in love with the Greek tradition when I was 10 years old. I grew up in New York City, and at the time, we could get our adult library card when we turned 10.
Oh, wow.
I galloped to school on my 10th birthday, and I got my library card, and I went up to the adult section, and I was in wonder, what's the first book I'm going to take out? And I was wandering and wandering the stacks, and I was between two Florida stealing stacks, and follow the synchronicities, the uncanny events. A book fell or somehow was pushed off a top shelf and it fell into my hands, and it was Homer's Iliad. It was the Iliad. And I looked at it and I said, I don't know who you are, or how you fell into my arms or why, but we're going home together.
Right.
So at 10 years old, I read the Iliad and I fell in love with Greek mythology, and
Wow.
so I've been studying it my whole life. So that began my Greek journey.
Hmm.
And now we're going to jump forward a lot. So I was studying the tradition my whole life, and I use mythology and its teachings extensively in doing my healing work. But I didn't get to Greece until, um, well, my wife and I went for our honeymoon. And this is a little story. My wife didn't have the Greek tradition in her blood or mind. So when we were talking about getting married, she started to say, "So have you thought about where?" And I knew the rest of the question. Where do you want to go on our honeymoon? And I just blurted, "Greece." And she said, "Oh, great. Good food, good wine, beautiful beaches." I said, "Oh, that too, but we're going on a spiritual journey that I've been waiting to take my whole life." And so we did. But then in 1987, I began traveling there on my own. And really, I was translating the poetry of the modern Greek poet George Seferis, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1963. He isn't well known here, but he's beloved over there, of course, in all of Europe. And I wanted to finish my translation work there where he had written. And that brings us to my last book that we're partially talking about today, Passage to Poros. The subtitle, In the Sanctuary of the Sea God. Poros is a small island, only a few thousand people live there. It's just like an hour and a half boat ride from Athens, so it's not far, but
Okay.
it was the main sanctuary of Poseidon, the god of the sea in ancient times. There's almost nothing there now. It's not rebuilt. It's just
Mhm.
foundation ruins, and people don't go there for that. They don't even know it was there. But it was the largest, most important sanctuary for the god of the sea in the ancient world. It was as big as the Acropolis, or as Delphi, Apollo's sanctuary, where people went to see or to find oracles. So I went there in 1987 because that's where the poet Sepphoris used to go. He retreated there for safety during the Greek Civil War, and he did a lot of his writing there. And I wanted to finish my translation work on that island.
Wow.
One more wow coming. So I was on the island doing the work, and the sanctuary of Poseidon is on the mountaintop. It's Poros is just relatively small, like 35 square meter miles or something. And it's a volcanic island that juts out of the sea. And there's one harbor village down at sea level. And then the sanctuary of Poseidon was built up on the mountaintop.
Hmm.
I saved my translation work to finish up on the mountain. So I saved a whole day for this. I loaded my backpack with my notebook and my work, and not my computer yet. It was 1987. I was still writing longhand, and lunch and some sacred objects. And it was a 3 hour climb up the mountain
Oh
for
my goodness.
beautiful hike through olive groves and pine forests and vistas of other islands floating in the distance. Really, really beautiful. Well, I got to the top and I saw the opening to the sanctuary maybe 50 feet in front of me. And I was there alone at that time. And what should come Scout's honor again? Out of the sanctuary, crawling on its flippers on a mountaintop, a giant sea turtle. A
Oh,
giant, like 2 or 3 feet, huge. It pulled itself right up to me, and I walked up to it, and I sat down in front of it in the trail, and we stared at each other for about an hour. And in the shamanic tradition, we are taught that when we encounter spirits, animal spirits, or invisible spirits that are trying to come to us, that
hmm.
in such encounters, they transmit their energy to us. So I don't know what happened, but it happened. I felt Turtle transmitting its energy to me, into me. And this changed my life, and it changed my.
Wow.
After Turtle was done with me, it started to head down the mountain, and I went into the sanctuary. And I went, and actually, the picture behind us, or behind me, that you see of
Hmm.
that is the sanctuary of Poseidon. It is on
Oh.
that mountaintop. So with you, I'm sitting there again. But I went into the sanctuary and I just meditated and prayed and talked to the universe. What just happened? What just happened? What just happened? What does this have to do with me?
Right.
A few things that has to do with me. One is um, my my astrological sign is Taurus. That's the bull.
Mine too.
Hello, bull. Sister bull.
Right.
But we both know the challenges of being a Taurus personality.
Yes.
We are not grounded and slow and like a turtle.
Right.
So, partly in the spiritual tradition, the spirit animals that we are given come to teach us, of course, and to balance our
Mm,
personalities so we can move through the life cycle better.
that's
So,
right.
Turtle
Yeah.
came to help ground me and balance me and slow me down. And I've been This was 1987, so I've been trying to learn that lesson for 40 years.
We don't make it
So,
easy.
bulls are stubborn, really hard-headed. So we're very determined. That's the
Yeah.
positive. And we're very stubborn.
Mhm.
That's the negative.
Yeah,
Everything has its light and shadow side.
absolutely. Yeah.
The other thing I'll share right now, um, trying to condense so much that we love talking about, is that I was really specifically on this journey to study the ancient Greek warrior tradition. And
Mm.
a number of breakthrough experiences had happened on that journey. One of the lesson from meeting the turtle was, I hope some of our listeners know this, that Native American people call our continent North America. They don't call it the United States and they don't call it North America. Their name for the continent is Turtle Island.
Really?
Really. And the creation myth of many of the tribes, not all of them, but many of them, is in the beginning, like the Bible, there was nothing here, just darkness and the waters. And the creator, the great spirit, was lonely and wanted to bring life. Just the Bible has that kind of similar message.
Right.
And what did in the Native American tradition, creator did was make a giant turtle to come up from the primordial waters. And the back of that turtle's shell and back is North America. So
Oh.
we're all living on turtle's back, all of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, and so one of the lessons to me was that I was also studying the Native American tradition since I was a kid. Uh, And a lesson for me was you came from the United States to learn how to heal warriors. Well, don't go back to the United States, go back to Turtle Island and
Oh.
study with the Native Americans because they are ancient warrior traditions and have been for thousands of years, and they know how to heal the traumatic wounds.
Right.
So go
Yeah.
study with them. So I went home and I took that very seriously. And I spent a year traveling all over Turtle Island looking for a teacher. And I found a wonderful teacher and I did a 13-year apprenticeship with him. So not only do I lead journeys to Greece to have these kinds of miraculous experiences,
Mm-hmm.
really do keep happening. Not all the time, not every day,
Yeah.
but get once in a lifetime, that's a lot.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We get them,
Yeah.
but also to use the Native American warrior tradition, ancient Greek warrior tradition, and their profound and deep healing rituals with our warriors that bring extraordinary dimensions of relief and inner peace and healing that our ordinary therapies from the conventional mental health world can't achieve.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, thank you. It is wow. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And I feel tears in my eyes now thinking about how many people who have traveled with me have achieved really profound psycho-spiritual growth and transformation that they couldn't find any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I unfortunately am about out of time, but can you let us all know, well, let everyone else know where they can find you, learn more about you, and maybe even sign up to
Sure,
go?
thank you for that.
Mhm.
One matter is that I've written books about these subjects. So both about uh, well, spiritual healing from war and military service, and those books are called War and the Soul and Warrior's Return. And then I have a full poetry collection called Coming Home in Vietnam. Not from Vietnam, but coming
Yeah.
home in Vietnam, that tells many, many, many of the stories like we were sharing today, including the Vietnamese stories. So people can get a real taste of that work from those books. And then my books on the Greek tradition are the practice of dream healing, and soul medicine, and passage to Poros. And all of my books are full of stories like this that we've been sharing, and the teachings from those cultures and the wisdom we can gain for living a more holistic and spiritual life. So people can find out about my works that way.
Okay.
In addition, my website is just my name, edwardtick.com. And my email address is, there's a joke in this too, it's just my name also, Dr. Tick. My son, who is your age and is very computer savvy, he said, "That's your email address, Dad? That spells dread tick. What are you telling people?" And I said, okay, well, that's an easy way to remember it.
There you go.
Dick, DREDTICK @gmail. So you can contact me that way. And my phone number too, 518-727-8090. I'm happy to talk to anybody about this stuff. And I do, as we said, I just came back from Greece in March. My next trip to Greece, if people are interested in that, will be either November or next March, or maybe both if I'm really lucky.
Right.
I'm not sure when my next trip to Vietnam is for a number of reasons, but especially the Vietnam veterans and Vietnam generation are getting very old and they can't travel so easily anymore. And unfortunately, they're also disappearing and dying off faster than the rest of the generation.
Oh, wow.
It's really still very worthwhile to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
It has become less of a war healing destination and more of a wonderful modern tourist destination. And Vietnam has rebuilt its economy that way, like much of the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know when I'm going back to Vietnam, but I want to. So that's it. That's me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm really glad to have this conversation with you, and again, honored to have you on my podcast. So thank you so much for taking out this time and for being here. And I hopefully will see you back in the future.
Good. I'd be happy to meet and dialogue deeply with you again. And
thank you for spending this time with us on Just the Who of Us. We hope today's conversation offered reflection, comfort, or a moment of clarity. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who may need it. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you're not alone in the journey.